All right, we are back live the week before Thanksgiving. Welcome back to Veteran Wealth Secrets. I'm Scott Tucker, and this is the show where we want to talk to active duty military, people going through transition, veterans, business owners, wherever you might be affiliated with the military community, but those who recognize, hey, we're in a modern time, looking for the new tips and tricks how to fit in and not just necessarily following the masses. And excited to, announce again or talk about again my book launch we had last week on Amazon. You can always get it for free, the PDF version at veteranwealthsecrets.com. But put it out on Amazon for the first time, just in the Kindle version for now, but had almost 200 downloads in just the first couple days. So that was pretty cool. Excited to see where that goes, but ultimately that's why I'm excited to have today's guest on, because some of the philosophies I talk about in the book and then the ideas we talk about, hey, how do we build the skill sets to tap into the modern economy? Our guest today has been doing that. It's been fun to watch. Joe Kramer, welcome to Veteran Wealth Secrets. Joe is the founder of Ruck On. He's also a freelance journalist. He's spent some time, graduated West Point 2016. It seemed like they were purging many classes for looking for medical discharges in a lot of ways. I just know so many people from that era that were medically discharged, and so all of a sudden you're kind of thrown into the corporate world much sooner than you were expecting. I'm sure, and I know the transition time is a lot quicker, and of course you're going through the medical process, so really tough time. Looking forward to kind of hearing about those challenges and how you overcome them. But I think ultimately as you've come up online, you've shown kind of how to implement these things that I'm always screaming from the mountaintops. Hey, people, we got to do this. So Joe, I'm excited to kind of hear your story and your thoughts on how you've gone through this process, just, since I've gotten to know you in the last year or so. But tell us a little bit about how life is for you kind of right now, what you're up to. Especially given the context of yet another pending lockdown, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. So things are going pretty well for me right now. My wife and I are both working full time. Actually, now at the same marketing company. I do content marketing. She's involved with payments.
Wow. So they were laying people off, but then you expanded in your your corner in the market for that company.
I mean, that's probably a discussion for, it could be another show about a lesson that I kind of learned there about always doing your best, like your personal best, and not, basing off someone else's metric.
But I met the standard, Sergeant. I mean,
that's... Exactly. Because I do know for a fact that had I just met the standard and not done my personal best, I would not have the job that I currently have, which has given me a lot of tools, skills, and experience that have helped me in other areas of what I'm trying to do. So, but three kids at home, actually expecting number 4 any week now.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
Thank you. And then, like you said, I'm the founder of Ruck On, which in this situation, the lockdown and everything, I've been able to pour some more time and effort into it and really kind of build it out from when it was, an idea and a blog. I think the first time that we really crossed paths, and then a little bit of sports writing on the side.
Yeah. So let's just dig right into that. I want to have you talk a little bit more about Ruck On. Obviously there's a fitness component there, yet there's a uniqueness to that. And I think we go back to, what do we always talk about? Hey, no matter what business you're in the sales and marketing business. And I want to come back to how your skill sets kind of play into that now. But for now, more specifically about Ruck On. I mean, you were a hockey player. You're doing sports writing. Obviously, there's been errors of P90X to CrossFit to everything, but just kind of take us down the journey of what you saw as an opportunity for Ruck On, but maybe also kind of what it meant for you personally as you were essentially trying to take advantage of let's just call it the modern economy, and position yourself for that. I think you saw something there. So anyways, just kind of walk us through, because I haven't, you're only out of the Army for less than 4 years, less than a few years really. Mm-hmm. And I know you've had a few different job opportunities that you've experienced. So you've seen a lot in a short amount of time, and yet you want to start a whole new fitness movement. Like, holy cow, and you got a fourth kid on the way. Like, what causes that?
Well, I think as I was leaving the military and kind of going through the transition, it really kind of opened my eyes to what you have been preaching for a while now, which is, we're in an age now, especially, for veterans and really for anyone, you're not confined the way you were in the past, with the internet and the way it's just so easy to acquire new skills and then put them into practice around something that you have an interest or a passion in, and kind of, build yourself up and establish yourself kind of as unique and an authority. And, I didn't dive right in, I know some people kind of do the, I'm quitting my job and, I'm just going to, will this to work. I wasn't necessarily in a position to do that, but what I did realize is that, sure, I kind of need to grind out, a 9 to 5 to put a roof over my head, take care of the family. But there's so much time, and especially now, given current circumstances, there's a whole lot of time outside that 9 to 5 that you can put to use learning various skills and kind of just getting your feet wet, doing whatever it is you want to do. And so that's something that I just kind of started doing is, with rucking, I'll shoot back up as to where the whole rucking and Ruck On came from. Because after getting out of the military, I started to put on a little weight and just kind of, I kind of fell out of shape because, I didn't have the time or the money for a gym membership. And so I was kind of spinning my wheels like, well, what do I do? How do I, stay in shape? And after a while, and I came across Go Ruck, and they have these monthly rucking challenges. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Just put some weight in a backpack and, walk around. It's something we did do in the military all the time. And so I started doing those monthly challenges, and I started up a blog that, that was kind of the first iteration of Ruck On, was just me blogging each month about things that I thought about as I was rucking and thought might be, helpful or useful.
And at that time, would you say it was strict hobby? Like you didn't even understand would you say, hey, I'm learning the skill set of blogging, or was it more just passion?
Honestly, it was probably mostly just kind of hobby, but maybe subconsciously a little bit like, well, hey, you blog about this, maybe something will happen. But I think when I really kind of started thinking about like, oh, hey, there's a real opportunity here, is after I've been, blogging, a couple months, and I would share, pictures of me, it's 19 degrees and snowing and, I'm out here rucking. I'd have friends and neighbors that would ask me from time to time, like, "Oh, hey, Joe, like, so how's Rucking going?" And a couple people even kind of reached out, and they were like, "Dude, can you, like, what's this Rucking all about? Like, how are you using it to stay in shape? Can, like, help me out?" And that's kind of when I started to realize that, there was something there, and that, I, as a veteran, as someone with military experience, I kind of took the whole, rucking and using it to stay in shape for granted.
Yeah.
And, I could possibly provide value by sharing what I know and what I learn, with other people. And instead of making it a blog, kind of just for me, setting up an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, and sharing it with as many people as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice when you feel like you have that, oh, this is what they mean when everybody's always like, I want to help somebody. And it's like, it's kind of, I think until you, internalize it one way or the other, either you have your own epiphany or you just see something, of other people doing something. We all have this drive in us, hopefully, to kind of serve in some capacity. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure what we're all here for. But
Right.
what's the kind of one main thing you want to share with our audience that maybe it's that thing you wish somebody would have told you earlier or along the way or whatever it is you figured out that's kind of kept things going?
Well, I would say the first thing is I actually have a lot to thank you for, just for continuing to shout from the mountaintops, that, this is, the modern economy. This isn't, you don't just have to stay stuck where you're at. And the other thing that I've kind of realized is that as I have different, I guess, visions for what I want to do with Ruck On. And, as I'd say with each passing week, each passing month, I have new ideas like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. I started to reflect on successes that I've had in the past. And I realized, when I was 3 years old, I knew I wanted to go to West Point. And
Oh, wow.
I mean, I guess it's kind of hard not to want to do something like that when, your earliest memories are your dad being an A-team leader, Green Beret, and
Oh, right.
he went to West Point. And so if you want to be a cool badass, like, that's
Right,
what you
right.
got to do. But I started to realize, growing up, from the age of 3, people would ask, "Well, Joe, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I would say, "I want to go to West Point. I want to be an Army officer." And so,
I was just gonna say, I remember I went for the fireman stage. At one point, I wanted to be a bagpiper. I mean, just completely off the wall. So good on you. You seem to know what you want and focus on it.
well, yeah, and I guess, I'm sure you could pull up all kinds of stuff, about the power of visualization and belief and everything. But I mean, I believed early on that I want to go to West Point, and that's what I'm going to do. And, I guess I didn't really think about it until, I reflected, but almost everything that I did for 15 years, until I was old enough to go to West Point, the actions I was taking were putting me in a position to be able to go to West Point. I played sports as a kid. I played hockey all the way through high school, and then even, played on the club team at West Point. I was involved in Eagle Scouts, or Boy Scouts, and became an Eagle Scout. You know, with my parents' help, I made sure that, my grades are always very, very good. And so think it back, and that's kind of that equation that I shared, the belief plus action equals results. I thought about that as that's kind of my proof of, hey, I believe something and put in the work for 15 years and made it happen. If I start to visualize and believe these, goals or ambitions that I have with Ruck On are things that I can attain, and I put in, the daily actions of making those a reality, it might take 15 years, but it might take a lot less than 15 years to make those things happen.
Yeah. I mean, the difference, I could see, I think a lot of kids, growing up, they have this idea of what they want to be. But we get caught down this college trap. I think luckily your college was the thing you wanted to be. So you knew how you're going to come out of it at the end. And yet, clearly if you're planning to go to West Point since age 3, you might've been planning for more of a career in the military. And yet now you got to apply, I love that statement. Your belief plus actions equals success. Cause at this point now kind of in the, in the military world, you kind of get told what your beliefs are, kind of get told what your actions are. What do you see? Hey, now you're creating your own beliefs, or you're finding them or changing them or manifesting them as you're seeing things that like, oh, it's not always this way all the time, or maybe I can try this or that. What are you doing right now, with those beliefs and actions to kind of manifest, hey, what might be 5, 10, 15, 20 years? That's the one thing we know about entrepreneurship in any realm whatsoever. As long as you don't quit, there's going to be some level of success, because that's the whole point. You're going to learn something, you're going to change, and it's not as structured as we're used to in the military. So can you kind of dig in there a little bit?
Sure. Well, as you were saying that, something that kind of popped into my head, and I guess if I'm a little off base or off track, feel free to jump in.
No rules on this podcast.
But what it got me thinking about was something that I think was a big, another kind of eye opener for me was sort of reframing my relationship and how I thought about failure. Because kind of growing up, knowing that I wanted to go to West Point, and then, at West Point, and then even in the military, I grew up to be very, very afraid of failing, of being wrong. And I think that's healthy to a degree, in the military, because obviously if you are wrong, if you do make the wrong decision, depending on what it is, a lot of lives and or, equipment and can, be at stake. But I think, obviously outside of a combat environment, in sort of a more day-to-day, being a practitioner of, trying to be an entrepreneur, and, you can afford to fail a little, as long as, you're not, betting your house or something and, losing it. But it's okay to try new things, and if they don't work out, then you see, okay, well, what could I have done better, or what do I need to do differently next time? And so I think that's been something that's been big for me, is being okay with doing something that might be out of my comfort zone, getting whatever feedback, positive or negative, and just kind of moving on with it, and not being afraid of being wrong, quote unquote, or failing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that resonates with me so much, because I remember when I got out of the Army and, quote unquote, got labeled or took a job or started a career or whatever label I had as a financial advisor or planner or whatever, I just had that identity, and it didn't seem, based on whatever parameters were set in place. Usually it was how much money you were making for the firm. I know you dabbled in this space a little bit as well. And it's just like, I'm failing. Doesn't matter how good I feel I'm doing. Or it was just really it's, screwed with my head, because it's like I'm doing the quote unquote thing I think I'm supposed to be doing, but if I'm not making a certain amount of money or whatever, not getting the amount of clients, it feels like failure. And it wasn't until years later when I realized, kind of like you did, it's like, oh, there are no definite.
You kind of define
things that are success. It's like, it's your belief, as you say. And so whatever you choose to believe as success or whatever that means, take actions towards that. Then who cares what anybody else thinks? That's kind of what I think about, if we're teaching our, what's the whole point of wealth management or financial planning? It's like, none of that matters if you're not, having a belief and some actions to it. So I might steal a little bit of that. I like that. I love the kind of how that manifested.
And that was kind of a recent, it just like popped in my head, like in the shower or something. And I just like rushed out to write it down. Like,
yeah, well, that's
a good one.
Yeah. That's how those things happen. It's like, all right. Maybe this is kind of something I, write down one day, look at every day, and build on it. And it becomes my little mantra. Like, what's wrong? What's wrong with just going your whole life, and then all of a sudden one day it comes to you? We think that's weird in a way that, well, you didn't get your 4 years of this certification or whatever, so therefore your knowledge or your epiphanies don't matter. When in my mind, it's like, hey, as long as I learned something today that could help somebody else tomorrow, who cares how it manifested? And so, but so tell us a little bit about, like, if we're having another interview here in about 3 years or so, what's life for Joe Kramer look like? What's going to happen, personally, professionally, for you to feel like you're still building on that success? Or what are the things you're looking to, whether it's building skill sets or having some ideas in your business? I mean, I hate asking specific business goal. I plan to make, X amount of figures by certain. It's like, that's not what I'm asking. I was kind of like, where do you want to see your growth occur?
Well, right now I kind of see two big things that I kind of want to build on and grow, that I see as kind of setting myself up and Ruck On for continued growth and success. And the first one being, a lot of my content and everything up to this point has just been me putting it out there for free, whatever I've got. And I feel like the next step for me is, kind of getting out there and actually trying to find people that are willing to exchange a little bit of money for me to help them a bit more directly, where they're at with their fitness, their nutrition, and personal development. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about, that I've thought about it, sat on it for a tiny bit, and then realized that, if I really want to make it happen, I need to take some action. And I'm officially announcing it on my channels tomorrow, but I did hint that I might talk about it beforehand.
No.
I'm starting up what I'm calling the Rucking Supply Drop.
Okay.
And essentially what it's going to be is a kind of like a monthly subscription box designed specifically for people who are either already into rucking or want to get involved in rucking. And so what it'll be is a box that comes with like a monthly rucking challenge and like a patch or a coin, as well as, a piece of gear that will help you as you're rucking, whether it's some, heavy duty, boot socks, or, an attachment to go on your ruck, what have you. But I reached out, kind of I need to take some action was reaching out to other brands that I know are kind of out in the rucking space and seeing like, hey, would you be interested in having your patches or your gear kind of put into this box and sent out to people on a monthly basis?
Hey, businesses like it when you promote their stuff. It's so strange.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody doesn't do that. It's like if you're I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to start a business. Guess what? If you help promote other people's businesses, they'll pay you for it. That's usually, if you want to start somewhere, learn that skill. But no, I think that's a great idea. Obviously, anytime you're partnering, one, you can learn from them, but you're also sharing knowledge, resources with an audience. Obviously, that's the way to go. Built up around using the social medias, whatever that means, the online tools to build a bit of a brand. It's been fun watching you do that. Where do people sign? Is that ready to sign up for yet, or where can they sign up for a newsletter or find you online?
So if you go to www.ruck-on.com, you can fill out any of the forms on any of the pages to sign up, with your email.
Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool.
I would say the easiest way to get a hold of me, and obviously if you're interested in the Rucking Supply Drop or what have you, going to Instagram, ruck_on_fitness. And then, I've got Ruck on Facebook, YouTube channel. I try to do a good job of making sure whichever platform you land on, if you want to go check out what I'm doing on another platform, they're all, kind of linked and everything. But
that's the hard part. Instagram's your main platform?
Yeah. Yep. And I know as I'm feeling, the kind of my coaching program and the Rucking Supply Drop out, I know the opportunity that exists when I kind of re-engage on LinkedIn, because I know that's something that you brought to my attention.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think, all social media is just depending on what you're doing and who you're, they each have their unique opportunity. It just happens to be a lot of veterans on LinkedIn right now, tending to communicate nicely. We'll see how long that lasts. But
yeah.
Well, awesome, Joe. Hey, really appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to seeing where things go with Ruck On and some of the other stuff you got going on. But let's come on again here in a few months and get an update. But thanks, man. All right, for everybody, we will see you next show.
Thanks.